So the function f of x is 1 over x squared plus x plus 1. And the question is, find the domain of this function. So what's the domain? So basically, what are the values of x that I can plug into this equation and get a real number as the answer, or get a number that's defined? So when we look at a rational expression like this, the denominator contains the term x, right? So we have to wonder if there is any x that would make the denominator equal to 0. So that's the first step. The question was, can we plug in any real number into this function? So we're thinking about this. All real numbers can be plugged in to this function except the ones that make the denominator equal to 0. So now we want to figure out if there is a number that will make the denominator equal to 0. So how do we find it? We set the denominator equal to 0 and then solve this equation. And the solution of this equation will determine if there is a real number that will make the denominator equal to 0. So x squared plus x plus 1 equal to 0. If you think about it, it's not possible to factorize this. So therefore, we're going to use the quadratic formula. So 1 times x squared, 1 times x plus 1. So a is 1, b is 1, and c is 1. So we are comparing this to the standard form ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Now we plug these numbers into the quadratic formula. Minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So we plug in the numbers 1 for a, 1 for b, and 1 for c. Minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So that is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 4 divided by 2. So that is equal to 1 plus or minus radical negative 3 divided by 2. So if we had to solve this equation, this would be the solution of the equation. Now notice that there's a negative inside the radical sign, which tells us that this solution is not a real number, right? So if there is any number that makes the denominator equal to 0, it's not a real number. So the domain is all real numbers with no exception. We don't have to get rid of any of the numbers. So the domain is all reals. You could write it as an interval, negative infinity to positive infinity. So all real numbers can be plugged into this function f of x equals 1 over x squared plus x plus 1.